What's good, everybody? In this episode, I want to break down how you can actually start a business with scalability in mind. Let's get it going. For 3 years, my agency built funnels and automation systems for the biggest names in marketing today. Since then, I've transformed that agency into a hyper-profitable training and consulting business. While everyone is out there talking about scale like it's some sort of destination, we'll be asking the real question. How do you transform your business into a more scalable model using the knowledge, skills, and expertise that you already have? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share the strategies I'm using to build my multi-million-dollar business. My name is Greg Hickman, and welcome to Scalable. Welcome back to the Scalable podcast, guys. And in this episode, we're actually going to be answering a question that came from one of the members of our free Facebook group called the Scalable Service Provider. If you are not in that group, you should totally be in there. We talk about all things systemizing your agency, creating a more scalable business through automation, through systems, through people, through structuring your business in a more leveraged model than done-for-you services. Now, if you're obviously listening to this at the moment, I actually recorded this live in the group. So if you are not in the group and you want to kind of get access to the recordings of some of these episodes where I'm answering your questions, be sure to join the group, participate. We'll leave links in the descriptions and the show notes and everything for you to get access into the group so that you can participate, get your questions answered in upcoming live episodes just like this. So the other week I reached out to the community and said, hey, if I went live here in a few minutes, what would you like me to talk about? And we got some really amazing questions. We recorded a couple episodes already, but John dropped an amazing question, and I actually asked him to go a little bit deeper on that question. So I'm going to share his question and kind of his backstory on the question with you so you kind of have context for what we're going to be talking about in the rest of this episode. I got some book recommendations, and we're going to be jumping onto the iPad and sketching some things out. If you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher or anything like that, just listen along, all right? So John essentially asked a question around building a business from the outset with scalability in mind. Like, what are the 3 main areas that are universal in order to set up any business to be more quote-unquote scalable and systems-oriented? And so I said, that's an amazing question. Can you give me a little bit more context so that I can make sure that we dive into, something that's going to be helpful for you? So he came back and said, what are 3 things that are, say, the kings, so to speak, and everything else is the royal subjects? Obviously, revenue and profit is a main driver that needs to be systemic, but what are the 3 big ones that can be universally implemented regardless of industry? Or are they more specific to industry? Example, I have added a guitar training and guitar building course to my custom woodworking and furniture making business. I'm essentially selling knowledge and experience instead of just physical products. So the systems I'm looking to implement are more intangible than building a hard product and selling it. Are there universal scalable components that can be baked in from the outset? I know you can bake out the ability to be scalable, but can you bake it in? So hopefully that provides context for the question. And I have a decent amount of stuff I can cover on this, but I wanted to kind of boil down a few things. First of all, in this particular example, John saying, I've added a guitar training and guitar building course to my custom woodworking and furniture making business. Now, the first thing that catches my eye in this question is, well, he said he's added this to his business. Now, his business is custom woodworking and furniture. Now, if his business were in custom woodmaking, making guitars, I would say that this is an addition to your business. You, my friend John, are starting a completely separate business. We need to be clear about that. I think this is a common issue with service providers when adding new services. In this case, you have your woodworking business where you are doing, you're doing the labor, maybe you have some help and you're creating furniture and you're selling it, right? I'm sitting at a desk that I bought from a local woodworker. He makes custom furniture and I wanted him to make a custom desktop that I could put on these, automatic desk legs. He builds furniture. He could have built this shelf behind me. we've scoped out a bunch of different things, but he builds furniture. If he went and started creating an online course around, design, those are separate businesses, right? So I just want you to, again, be clear. You are not adding on to your current business. You are starting a separate business if you're going to be talking about guitar training and guitar building. Now, yes, there's some overlap in the guitar building if in your woodworking business you are actually building guitars. But to me, those sound like separate businesses. And this is going to lead into the first thing that I think is applicable to all businesses when building a business that is able to be systemized and scalable from the beginning. But I want to go into some definitions because I think we all need to be on the same language, speaking the same language when it comes to scalability in this conversation. So first and foremost, something that plagues many service providers is, if you're over here serving chiropractors and you're doing Facebook ads, but then you also have clients where you're doing funnels and you're working with coaches. Theoretically, those are two different businesses, right? And they can be. And so that brings us to kind of the first thing that I think is universal is focus, right? So but before I go into diving deeper onto focus, I want to actually look at the definitions of scalable and scalability, because I just did a training that we're going to be releasing here soon where I actually kind of break down some of this language. So I'm going to share my screen here. And first, scalable. What does it mean to be scalable, right? Right now, everybody is talking about scale like it is some sort of destination, but a lot of the things that we look at in business is around the ability to, right? Those ables. We want to be profitable. We want to be scalable. Those are the able part, right? Able to be scaled. So what does scalable mean? Capable of being easily expanded or upgraded profitably on demand. So whatever business you're in, John, whether it's your woodworking business or the guitar training, guitar lessons and or even how to build a guitar, you need to ask yourself, what's the capability of being easily expanded or upgraded profitably on demand? We're going to dive into what areas you need to be able to do that in, right? Now, diving deeper in that, looking at scalability, when you literally look this up in the dictionary, I kind of combine some of the different, whether it's a verb or a noun and how it relates to business. Obviously, when you look at scalability, they talk about a lot of things that are not just business related, but I wanted to kind of apply some general concepts of scalability into kind of the business element, because that's what we're obviously talking about here. So scalability, an attribute that describes the ability of a business to grow and manage increased demand. Okay? So the ability of a business to grow and manage increased demand. A scalable business has an advantage because it's adaptable to the changing needs and demands of its clients. I think that's something that's really interesting and we're going to be diving into. Scalability is often a sign of stability and competitiveness as it can handle an influx of demand while remaining profitable. So John, in your original question, you had asked, obviously, profitability is one. I think profitability is a byproduct of the things that you need to be doing. Obviously, any business that is scalable, we, by definition, should be profitable if we're working off that. So I'm not going to say that one of the three things is profitability, because in order to be scalable, by definition, profitability is a key part of that. Okay. So for the sake of definitions, that's what we're working with in this context. So let's jump in here a little bit. So some things that come to mind for me, right? I said focus, right? And this is a major area that we discuss with a lot of our clients because, again, we work with a lot of agencies that are more generalist service providers, and they're doing a lot of different things, often for a lot of different types of people. So in this case, John, you have your woodworking business / furniture. And maybe in here, it sounds like every once in a while you're making a guitar. That's what I'm making that assumption. But then also you want to start a guitar training and guitar building course. Okay. So I'm not sure if you're training people on how to build or if you're actually training people on like how to play the guitar and then also how to build a guitar. If those are if you're really just focused on the building, I think there's a little bit more alignment between these two ideas. But the reality is these are two separate business models, right? You have a service and you have information, right? You're showing people how. And so how each of these scales and becomes scalable is going to kind of, I guess, sequentially rely on some different things. But really the first one is focus, right? If you're doing both of these things at the exact same time, the ability that your ability to grow each of them profitably is going to be diluted, right? Because they're two separate things. Now, if you went all in on how do I make my service more scalable, you're going to put all of your energy and effort to one thing. So I think the first thing that we have to look at is from the onset of a business, whether this is early stage or you're just getting started, the more things you are doing becomes a disadvantage to your scalability. And so that's why focus is really important, because you're essentially running two businesses, if that's making sense. Same for an agency that maybe has like 10 different types of clients and they have a service menu of 20 different things that they could do. Scaling any one of those could be its own business, right? So this is why we often talk a lot about, this notion of productization. How do you sell and deliver your services like a product? In this case, we're not actually selling your services like a product. We are actually doing something completely different, okay? Versus, say, in our original instance, we were building, say, webinar funnels for people. Me building webinars for people versus showing them how to build webinars, like the outcome is still the same. They have a webinar, but how we get there is different. So that kind of brings me to actually, before we jump into that, a great book on this, which I want to give you a resource, is Essentialism. If you guys haven't read Essentialism, you definitely should, because we've all seen this graph, this image. It's pretty popular, right? This is the way that most people try to scale their business. So in Essentialism, right, we have all of your energy, right? And you're spreading yourself thin by putting your energy in a lot of different places, right? So in this case, John, your energy is over here in, furniture. It's over here in guitar building business, right? And who knows where else your energy is at right now, right? So what sets most businesses apart that are actually scalable is if you have all of your energy, and just like in the graph, you focus it all in one direction. So this could be either one of those businesses, right? Is selling the info on guitar training, or guitar building, or you go all in on the service side, right? So from the onset, no matter what it is you're selling, I think no matter what business model, if you're trying to operate two different business models, the more avatars you're trying to serve, the more service offerings you have in your quiver, right? All of those things lead you to the kind of dispersed energy where, you're not going to be as likely to succeed, and or from, I think, a profitability standpoint, but even more from a systems perspective, which we're going to be talking about in a minute, right? So the goal out of the gates, if you want to be scalable, is being able to exert all of your energy towards one solution, one business, okay? Again, back to why most of the clients that come to us want to focus on productization. How can they bundle up their services to sell a specific outcome so that they can start to benefit from having systems in place? So the first thing we'll say is, focus, and even more so I believe, we'll say simplify, but to me that means simplifying through deliverables / what's the outcome you're selling, and the avatar. right? You can't serve everybody solving every single problem. So the first one is focus. Now, the second key, and I don't have three, I'm going to cover kind of four things that come to mind. The second thing is I really think about capacity. And this brings me to the book Thinking in Systems. The book Thinking in Systems by Donella H. Meadows. If you're a systems-minded person, this book is pretty intense, a lot of graphs and everything. But what I want to talk about with capacity, and capacity in many cases, like I think of capacity and throughput, right? This book talks a lot about throughput. And in your business, right? Like we talk about what is your scale factor, because the scale factor of a service business is going to be different than the scale factor of a course business. Okay. And so this is why, and this is going to lead into systems in a minute. But if you look at your business, right? If this is sales and this is onboarding, right? This is kind of the rest of your delivery. That's how you write deliver, not vertically. Deliver, right? This is your marketing, and this is your advertising, right? These are different areas that we're going to be creating systems across our business. For a service business, their capacity is limited because of how many clients they can actually serve, right? This is why oftentimes I'll ask the question, like, if I give you 5 new clients right now, would you or your business break? What about 10 new clients? What about 15 new clients? If you are a service business, aka done for you, or you work one-on-one, 5 new clients will either break you or your business. Just like 10 clients or 15 clients, depending upon how much help you have, right? Your ability to take on more, going back to that definition, on demand is not a reality, right? I couldn't just throw you 15 new clients right now if in your woodworking business and you'd be able to serve all of them effectively without seeing a decrease in results. I'm guessing, especially if you're the one doing all of the work, right? You would break. You couldn't even work enough hours in the day to make that happen without probably having tons of other sacrifice and issues in other areas of your life. I don't know if you're married or have kids, but like if you were working 24 hours a day, you're not sleeping, your health is going to get jacked up, your relationships are going to get jacked up, and you're going to be burnt out, right? So inherently a service business scale factor is in the capacity in how many clients you can handle. How many clients can come through your delivery mechanism, right? Your fulfillment mechanism to get the result without sacrificing the client results, right? Probably only a couple at a time. That's the throughput part that you'll learn about in this book. Now, if you're selling courses, right, and there is no real fulfillment, right, it's just them going through online videos, typically your scale factor ends up being in the amount of leads that you can pump through your sales system, right? So can you control the demand, right? And this is why a lot of online businesses talk about how to acquire people profitably using Facebook ads, right? Can you just turn up the dial and have an influx of new leads? Because fulfillment isn't going to be the issue, right? The back end isn't going to be the issue because it's just how many people can watch a video at the same time, like thousands, right? So your limit, your scale factor is going to be on how many leads and clients and sales can you actually push through your selling system, right? And depending upon how you sell, if you still sell one-on-one, if you sell a course one-on-one, your scale factor is going to need to change here. This is why you see a lot of people selling courses sell directly from, say, a webinar or a video sales letter, because they can sell to many people at the same time. If 50 people all buy at the same time, and they all start watching the video, you can have 50 people watch a video at the same time. So what's going to make you more scalable as an info business is going to be how many leads and sales can come through the front end mechanism, right? The acquisition and sales system. Because again, we don't have that buildup on the capacity side or on the fulfillment side, right? So, in this book, in Thinking in Systems, again, by Donella H. Meadows, like they break down simple systems and complex systems. And one of the, the diagrams is this. I'm going to kind of draw this out. Imagine a box with a pipe coming out of each side and kind of like a cloud on the ends of each end of that. Now, in our example, this is going to be kind of your capacity, right? How many clients can you serve in this delivery mechanism where they still get the result that they're looking for, right? Again, if you're the one doing the woodworking, right? There's probably a certain level of like the result kind of meets a certain standard, right? But as you start removing yourself, does that standard uphold? If you add 20 clients to your plate at the same time, will all of them come out to be perfect based on your standards, or better yet, the client's standards, right? So what does success look like? And in the business sense, this is going to be kind of the opportunity volume, right? So the number of leads coming through the system. So this is kind of the general pieces of a system, but what we're really talking about here is where scalability comes in is, guys, first of all, bear with me because I'm like not the greatest artist. This is a lever, right? Or a lever, depending upon where you live in the world, or a valve. And so there's two valves, right? Can you open a valve, right? And let increase the inflow of new leads into your world. If this machine works and can convert them into new clients, then we can control the valve of how many we can handle at the same time without sacrificing results. Then we have control, right? And so I think a big part of this whole definition of scalability is the ability to handle the increase and influx on demand. And the on-demand part is, well, can you control each of these valves? Can I open up the dial and say, look, we can go from serving 10 clients to 1,000 and there's no issue? That's the fulfillment valve. And then on the leads and sales side, can I just open up the valve and can I control the influx of people coming into my world? Right? Again, if you're selling courses, you can probably sell a handful of courses each and every month through your organic activity. But at some point, the marketing and advertising behavior is going to need to be able to attract enough leads to hit the numbers you want, right? And so we need to be able to open that valve and take in, thousands of leads, right? And depending upon what numbers you're trying to hit, that is going to be an issue, right? And so we're going to get into that piece too. So I think your capacity to, one, handle the advertising and marketing side, like bring in enough leads to be scalable or to scale, then the ability to actually serve all of them without sacrificing results, no matter what type of business you're in, is an indicator of scalability, right? If you get a team of woodworkers and you could go from 5 clients a month to 25 clients a month without sacrificing results, like you've just been able to like really probably close to 10x your business depending upon what you're charging, right? Because now you can handle 25 clients a month instead of 5, but can you get 25 clients each month, right? So you might be able to serve 25 clients each month, but can you consistently bring in 25 clients each month? That's going to be another factor in how far you can scale. No matter whether you're a service business or you sell courses, doesn't matter. How many clients can you bring in each and every month on demand in a controllable way, profitable as well, right? All of these things. So capacity is going to be an issue. The next thing is systems, which obviously kind of piggybacks off this. But when I think of systems, we look at the different areas of your business. We look at advertising. We look at marketing. We look at sales. We look at fulfillment. We look at, legal. We'll throw finance in, right? What happens when you take 1,000 transactions a month? Can your financial systems take that, right? Not just fulfillment, right? What about operations? These are different functions of your business, and we need to apply systems to all of them, right? Okay, well, what does systems mean, right? I mean, in this business sense that we talk about with a lot of our clients, we have, automation. We have people, right? Which is really a part of delegation. Although you can delegate to software, you can delegate to a person, you can delegate to a process. We have sequencing, doing things in the right order. Okay, so all of these things are kind of are systems, right? So what's the advertising system? How are we automating lead acquisition and lead nurture for marketing? How can we have enough sales conversations in any given month to take on the capacity that allows us to grow, right? If you sell one-on-one on conversations, that means building a sales team. If it is, just driving people to a sales page, your bottleneck's going to likely be in how many people you can get to that page, which brings it up to the next level. Back to what's our marketing, our nurture, our acquisition, all of those systems, and how are we doing that? Okay, how are we fulfilling on those things? These are mechanisms to achieve specific results, right? A system is a combination of things that yields a specific result. So you have advertising systems, marketing systems, fulfillment systems. So that's a huge thing. I don't care what business you're in, you need a way to acquire leads, convert them into prospects, fulfill without sacrificing results at scale. You need to be able to have the systems for operations, for billing, for accounting, for all of those things. You need systems, right? And so I think the last piece of this is really know your numbers, right? I think not enough people know their numbers, right? To the point where what is the threshold in which I can open each of these dials, right? How can I make sure that when I'm serving 10 clients, my profit remains at a specific percentage? But when you learn that by adding 15 clients, that number decreases to a point where maybe you're not happy anymore, you need to understand in your own business, how do you make that switch from 10 to 15 profitably? Okay. So some of this is like the question that originated by John was, how do we do this from the onset? Okay. Well, knowing your numbers, you can only do so much back of the napkin math to get started, right? So as you start growing, this is more of the next level of that conversation for those of you that are listening, and for you specifically, John, where it's like, all right, we know we need to have focus, we know we need to have the capacity, and we know we need to have systems across all divisions of our business: advertising, sales, marketing, fulfillment, operations, etc. But as you start doing that, you need to really start understanding your numbers, so that when you do open those valves, do all of those KPIs remain where they need to be for you to be profitable, for you to be a healthy business, right? Without losing money and going out of business, or having enough bandwidth from a personnel perspective where you're not like killing your team or yourself because you're overworking and burning out. So you can only know your numbers so much in the beginning from a forecasting perspective, but as you start growing and you start opening those valves, you need to start looking at those KPIs. And in each business, again, depending upon your model, you're probably going to have 3 to 5 KPIs that you're tracking, right? Maybe cost per lead or cost to acquire a client, profitability per client, whatever your specific KPIs are for your business. I'm fairly confident that some course creators will look at different numbers than, say, a service provider, right? You need to look at, cost per employee, revenue per employee in some cases might be a metric you're looking at. But the knowing your numbers is the thing that allows you to know when and what to tweak when it comes to those valves, right? Because even though I drew this simple example of 2 valves, as your business grows and becomes more complex, there's probably multiple valves that you're dealing with, right? Like this is just, and you'll see that if you read this book called Thinking in Systems, they break down the very simple system where there's 2 valves all the way into, more complex systems. So as things get more complex and more detailed, where you're turning valves when to be more scalable or just to scale in general is going to apply differently to different businesses. So to recap, hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Let me know if you're watching the replay of this. I'd love to know if this was helpful. I'd say no matter what business you're running, if you want to be scalable from the onset, you need to, 1, tackle a specific problem for a specific person and have that ability to put all of your energy in one focused area. 2, to be able to focus on how do I increase my ability to take in both more leads and both in more clients. How do I constantly increase that capacity, right? Opening the pipe. And then how do I start creating the systems to remove myself as the bottleneck, or as remove people from the bottleneck within my advertising, my sales, my marketing, my fulfillment, my legal, my operations, right? That's where I would start. I think that applies to any single business. And again, a lot of this is, you can start by mapping it out, but the subtle idiosyncrasies of your own business are going to present themselves as you're doing it, right? So you can map all of this stuff out on a napkin as much as you'd like, but you kind of got to just be thinking about my capacity and focusing. It's not going to be one tactic that you can do from the beginning that applies to all businesses. So if you're getting ready to build a business, or you're in the early stages and you want to think about how can I make sure that my business is more scalable, focus, capacity, and systems are the 3 things that I would pay attention to, and always be determining what my main KPIs are as I'm tweaking those valves, as I'm building out those systems, so that I can continue to grow profitably and get closer to the ability to grow on demand, right? And control that demand. Hopefully that helps. If I gave you 5 to 10 new clients, would you or your agency break? If so, your current agency model is broken. I struggled with this too until I found a better way. By adding online programs, training, and coaching to our agency, we doubled profits without adding more hours. If you want to work directly with me and my team to transform your agency, visit myscalablebusiness.com to learn more.